coming up at 2:30. Here we go shopping inside the People's Market. Let me give you another one on Harold Melvin. Notes.
I'm so sorry, but you can't. President of the Barbados Union of Teachers, Brother Rudy Lovell, Brother Dr. Ian Marshall, lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Cape Campus, Brother Dennis De Peiza, General Secretary of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados, and a past President and General Secretary of the BUT, Sister Vern Charles, General Secretary of the Caribbean Union of Teachers and the President of the St. Lucia Teachers Union. Brother Victor Hutchinson, a past President of the BUT. Dr. Mark Lyte, President of the Guyana Teachers Union. Professional Development Committee members, BUT Executive Community members, members from the Caribbean Union of Teachers, member units all around the Caribbean, around the region. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Allison Murray, and it is my honor to take you through this afternoon's program. Welcome, welcome to the Caribbean Teachers Talk 2024, an extraordinary celebration of 50 years of excellence in education. Today, we gather to commemorate a journey that has been marked by dedication, passion, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. It really is an honor to host an event which will acknowledge the visionaries, the educators, the administrators who have been pillars of the union's success. I'll invite Sister Dr. Alicia Allen at this time. She is the chairperson of the Professional Development Committee, and she will lead us in prayer.
Let's stand for a word of prayer. Let's bow our head. Our God and our Father, we humbly bow in your presence today. We give you thanks and praise, O God, for who you are and all you continue to do in our lives. We pray, Father God, that you would continue to bless the work of the Barbados Union of Teachers as we celebrate our 50th year in existence. We thank you, Lord, for those who have gone before, and those who are present, and those who are to come. We pray, Father God, as we enter into this program, that you, O Lord, will be glorified by all that we do. And we give you thanks and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Now, as a union, we must continue to push boundaries, defy expectations, and embrace innovation in education. And through our collective passion and our determination, we will continue to shape the landscape of learning for the next 50 years and beyond. Our president, Brother Rudy Lovell, joins us now to deliver the opening remarks.
BUT 50 and beyond. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Chairperson, Sister Allison Murray. Dr. Ian Marshall, lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Capefield campus. Brother Dennis De Peiza, General Secretary of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados, and a past President and General Secretary of the Barbados Union of Teachers. Sister Vern Charles, General Secretary of the Caribbean Union of Teachers and the President of the St. Lucia Teachers Union. Brother Victor Hutchinson, a past President of the BUT and now a trustee. Dr. Mark Lyte, President of the Guyana Teachers Union, BUT Executive members, Professional Development Committee members, and members from Caribbean units of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. Welcome to the 3rd Annual Caribbean Teachers Talk, convened as part of the Barbados Union of Teachers' 50th Annual General Conference. It is truly an honor to address this distinguished gathering of educators from across this beautiful region. Teachers are facing challenges and have brilliant ideas about education. This forum represents an excellent opportunity for us to engage in meaningful dialogue on the pressing educational issues that impact teachers and students alike. As we reflect on the progress the teaching profession has made and the challenges that lie ahead, we must harness the collective wisdom and experience in this room and online to drive positive change in our schools and communities. Throughout this talk, we will delve into topics central to our profession. I look forward to the participants sharing their insight, history, experiences, and innovative ideas as we work together to enhance the quality of education in our region. Let us use this platform not only to discuss challenges, but also to celebrate our successes and the invaluable contributions of teachers to society. As we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Barbados Union of Teachers, let us renew our commitment to excellence in education and to supporting each other in our noble calling. I wish you all a productive and enriching Caribbean Teachers Talk. Thank you for your dedication to the teaching profession and your participation in this important gathering. Let us strive to create a brighter future for our students and our region. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
We thank you, Mr. President, and we do remain committed to assisting the union as we continue to move education forward in Barbados. We want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude to God. And to guide us through this moment, we'll invite the Spring Memorial School Choir under the direction of Choir Master Brother Dave Jackman at this time. An absolutely beautiful rendition from the ladies, University on Government Hill. Of course, under direction of their wonderful choir master, Mr. Dave Jackman. Now, as a union, our community has been our greatest strength. We welcome any opportunity to gather with the experts. And we're happy to have 5 such experts with us this afternoon. And each presenter will come to you. They will share for just 10 minutes. 10 minutes of wisdom, 10 minutes of reflection, of guidance. And once time permits, we will, of course, engage with some questions at the end. But of course, we know that this 10-minute slot is more than adequate for them to express all that they want to share with us. Our sister Tara Durant has the special job of welcoming our first speaker. Sister Tara. Tall.
The distinct pleasure of introducing Dr. Ian Marshall. Dr. Marshall is an educator with 23 years of teaching experience. He has worked as a teacher trainer and leadership development expert from 2009 to the present in the capacity as tutor in educational management and administration and research methods at the Radisson Teachers Training College in Barbados. He also functioned as the university coordinator for the Diploma in Education Primary and the Certificate in Educational Management and Administration programs delivered by the Radisson Teachers Training College. Dr. Marshall is an educational consultant and travels throughout the Eastern Caribbean training current and prospective educational leaders in leadership best practices. In addition, Dr. Marshall works closely with principals and teacher trade unions in Barbados to deliver a number of professional development workshops for teachers at the primary and secondary levels. Dr. Marshall has a PhD in education, a diploma secondary, master's in educational administration, a bachelor's of honors, all from the UWI Cave Hill campus. His research interests include parental involvement, principal preparation, student academic achievement, principal and teacher leadership, inclusive education and effective schools. Dr. Marshall is an author of articles published in the Caribbean Journal of Education and Caribbean Educational Research Journal. Dr. Marshall is passionate about education and seeing positive change in educators and leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Dr. Ian Marshall.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you for that kind introduction. I have been given 10 minutes, and you know for Ian Marshall there is a waste of time because 10 minutes is in a pang, to be quite honest. But I will try my best to do justice to the topic before me. So good evening to all. So just relax, you look a bit stiff. So just relax, because you know this is going to be a rough ride. All right, members of the Beauty Executive, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let me thank you for inviting me to address you on this timely and equally important theme of educational reform over the years. However, I have taken the liberty to expand the topic to add a qualifier statement, namely, a case of policy churn extraordinaire. I have done so because my critical evaluation of what has been foisted on us in the name of educational reform and what is now being proposed seems faddish and devoid of serious intellectual rigor and analysis. Long in political expediency, but short on contextual applicability. And before you get ready to draw your swords of rebuke, I beg your indulgence to first hear my submission, and then you can draw your own conclusions. For the purposes of this submission then, I will do three things. Firstly, I will give you a brief overview of what I call the policy churn scenario. Secondly, I will examine the core elements of what is deemed a best practice case of educational reform. And thirdly, I will suggest where we need to go with educational reform. Finally, I will invite you, the audience, to draw your own conclusions on the matter. Firstly, the concept of policy churn as coined by Hess 1999, or more specifically, certificate policy churn, as reflected in Barbados. I have been in education all my life. As a secondary school child in third form, we did something called BSSC. You got merits and distinctions for passing exams and a certificate, or rather a piece of paper, which gave testimony to your prowess in the respective disciplines. Ask me if you ever used that piece of paper or certificate. The short answer is no. Today we have CCSLC, the same basic idea, and a proffer that we will get the same result. Which employer or academic institution will have regard for CCSLC? Yet we have persisted with that idea under a new proposed name, the Barbados National Secondary Diploma, forcing students to pursue so-called qualifications that will have no real value in the grand scheme of things. Now please don't misunderstand me. Well, what I'm saying here, I'm all for a national qualification or certification that speaks to competency. But of what value is such a qualification in circumstances where other qualifications, namely CSET and CATE, supersede and for which there is greater currency in the marketplace? What was the philosophy behind the CCSLC? Did we not learn anything from BSSE? And why persist with the BNSD? Let us now examine curriculum policy churn. In the late 90s and early 2000s, it was about technology. Everything was about preparing for the technological age. Yet when we needed the technology during COVID-19, we suddenly became aware that after spending millions of money, of your taxpayers' dollars and mine, we were still not prepared. Today we are into AI, but this has met with mixed responses. On the one hand, the students are eager to have an AI counterpart that will assist with all forms of homework, while teachers struggle with putting checks and balances in place to curb the scourge of plagiarism. In early 2005, we had a national reading policy under the aegis of the Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports. That policy advanced the 8 essential skills for successful reading, and it was quite thorough, but that too petered out. And now in 2024, we are again talking about literacy. and numeracy specialists in primary schools, while lamenting the fact that reading and comprehension is still a major problem. In 1998-2000, the main focus was on special needs, and everyone was on that bandwagon. I'm not ashamed to tell you that at that time I was pursuing my ed leadership, and I must admit I did 2 courses, one in special needs as it relates to managing schools and working with parents. I had designs on becoming a principal at that time, so it made sense. However, that focus on special needs also soon petered out. Today, some 25 years later, we have not yet even gotten schools to a place where we can say that the least restrictive principle is operational in schools in Barbados. We still have a school struggling to cope with fire service vehicles, which wreak havoc on the special needs students every time the siren is activated in response to a fire emergency. You ask yourself the question, were policymakers not aware of the impact of locating a fire service department next to a special needs school? But have no fear, my comrades. Today, SEN, or Special and Inclusive Education, is back on the agenda, complete with the promise of IEPs for every child. Once again, policy churn in operation. I could go on and talk about the focus on TVET and the ebbs and flows of the policy to promote world skills in this country, or the focus on adult and continuing education that was doing quite well and filling a niche, and then suddenly it was abandoned, or at the very least, scaled down considerably. Now it appears it is back on the agenda, couched in language that speaks to competency-based education. I could talk about the Teaching Service Commission, which was enshrined in the Service Commission Act of Cap 34. It was mooted in 1993. It was mooted in 1993. In 1993, and then it petered out. Today, in 2024, it is again being mooted. However, I want to suggest that any commission that does not have the autonomy and independence from the political directorate to hire, fire, and discipline will be yet another toothless tiger masquerading as an apex predator. I could talk about the master teacher concept. This is not a new concept. In 2010, at the OECS conference, it was long advocated that we need to have master teachers as part of our ensemble of other measures to professionalize the teaching service and incentivize teaching. Today we are hearing about 22. Now let us be realistic. There are 21 public secondary schools and 69 public primary schools. Even if we use the secondary schools only, there are several disciplines within schools. So are we going to have a master teacher for all disciplines? Are we going to have a master teacher for those who teach, let's say, mathematics at the junior level and one for the senior level? The next question is, what is the criteria for selection of master teachers? Is nepotism and cronyism going to be the order of the day? And if so, what is the impact on the morale of those teachers who are working tirelessly in the schools that are oft forgotten? I want to suggest that if you're going to adopt a master teacher system, then we should have a policy that establishes what is the quantum of master teachers required for the system as a whole and work systematically over time to meet that quantum. Next, there should be a clearly articulated recruitment or selection policy that drives that process, and that process should be transparent. In this way, one will be able to incentivize teaching, while at the same time building in layers of accountability for teachers and principals alike. What is the point, ladies and gentlemen, my comrades? The point is that education reform, by its very nature, will of necessity extend beyond the political term of one party or another. Therefore, if we are serious about reform, we must start with a policy framework grounded in legislative support which protects the imperative or goals of that reform, so that it transcends political parties and is therefore insulated from the vagaries of electoral politics. Ladies and gentlemen, I have only touched on 2 broad areas, but there are many more. I have given you a snippet of what policy churn looks like. I will now focus on the second part, an example of best practice, and for this, I will turn your attention to Finland to extract some salient points. The first is that the policymakers were not running around Finland having launches for educational reform and deciding on mascots before the essential elements of reform were adequately contemplated or agreed on by stakeholders. The reform or transformation was, they understood, that educational reform or transformation was a process and not an event for public consumption like a gala. Further, there were a number of pre-existing conditions that promoted reform in Finland. And I'm going to mention a couple of them for you. The first was a consensus at the political level. The common hardships and experiences of World War II created consensus and eased tensions between social classes and political parties. The Parliament issued a School System Act that included major elements of the new basic school system, as well as a plan for implementation, which established, importantly, the framework for future reforms. There were strong administrative structures at the national, regional, and local levels that guaranteed the sustainability and consistency of the reform process. From a philosophical perspective, the Finnish education system was grounded in equality, and this was operationalized by removing selecting, tracking, or streaming students during their basic education until the age of 16. Inclusion of special education and instructional efforts to minimize low achievement were also typical to the Nordic educational system. This brings me to the third plank of my presentation. Where are we now? And how do we measure up as a country? Finland had a philosophy grounded in equality, a focus on the provision of quality education for all. The good fortune of an economy was also there that was driven by the emergence of the Nokia Corporation. According to estimates by the Finnish Economic Research Institute, 1998 and 2007, it says 25% of Finland's GDP growth was due to the Nokia Corporation. Most importantly, Finland had the political will to effect the systemic rather than the cosmetic changes that were necessary, using the Nordic welfare state as their model. So the question is, what is our Nokia in Barbados? What is our educational policy juggernaut? What is the philosophy that will drive our educational reform effort? To date, I have heard words and catchphrases that cause the ear to tingle, but beyond that, they communicate no deeper meaning. But we are good at that in the Caribbean. A bright future for every child. Leave no child behind. Each one matters. House every last person. And they could go on. We continue to use PR and glossy brochures to obfuscate the policy churn. Like Finland, I would like to see our educational system grounded in equality and equity. I would like to see decentralized education that provides greater autonomy to principals to lead their schools. I would like to see us treat educational reform in that way. Stop asking primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions to limp along due to underfunding and place educational reform on a more sustainable platform. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Lots to digest, lots to think about. Potent thoughts he has shared with us. I am sure we will perhaps be hearing some clips on the on the radio tomorrow. I do agree, though, that discussions on policy are really critical, and we will continue to agitate for such. So thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you. Jara Scott. Jara, am I saying it correctly? Jara Scott. Before you come, I want you to know, hang on, we are so happy to have you here. We are excited because you represent the face of other boys and girls in Barbados who we, as teachers, are preparing to be global citizens. And we can't wait to hear your spoken word piece. So welcome to you.
Thinking about my future. Thinking. Every child deserves the best. Don't you think that's true? A bright future for me depends a lot on you. You set the example. Yes, you. So be careful what you show. The things you do and say are things I might follow. This world is for ever changing, and sometimes I feel lost. I want the best for all children, but my future is in a toss. Innocent children have to be begging. You could believe that? Innocent children have to be begging when we deserve the best. A bright future for me means I should not settle for less. My future can only look bright if you do your part. You say you love Barbados. Well, give the future a start. Think strongly about us before you perform any task. Will my actions be detrimental? Seriously, think about that. Are you setting the right example? Are you doing the best you can? Or can you make things better and pave the way for your fellow man? It's not only actions and words, but the way you dress and how you move. Would you want that for your children? If not, it's time to improve. I need to have proper role models, and you can be that for me. So before you act, do some thinking. Help form a better society. Because my future is important. There are things I want to do, but a bright future for me depends a lot on you. Our future is important. There are things we want to do, but a bright future for us depends a lot on you. And you, and you, and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I will add that she is the current head girl at St. Silas Primary School. We've heard you, and we are taking your advice. We thank you so much. Caribbean Teachers Talk 2024 continues with another distinguished presenter. And to introduce that individual to you, we invite Sister Tonya Joseph at this time.
Pleasure to present to you Brother Dennis De Peiza. Brother Dennis De Peiza is a teacher by profession. He's a practice veteran and trade unionist of 40 years experience. He is the current serving General Secretary of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados, C2SAB, a position he has held since 2002. He's a former president, General Secretary, and Public Relations Officer of the Barbados Union of Teachers, and has served on the executive board for a period of 21 years. At the regional level, he has served as a former vice president and trustee of the Caribbean Union of Teachers. Brother De Peiza holds a bachelor's degree with honors in history and, my love, sociology from the University of the West Indies, a certificate in educational management and administration from UWI Cave Hill, and a master's degree in public administration from the University of Baltimore in the United States. In addition, he holds a diploma in managing public relations from the Barbados Institute of Management and Productivity, which he earned with distinction. Brother De Peiza has also successfully completed various labor relations training courses throughout the region and internationally. He is passionate about worker education, training, and development, and for more than 25 years has written a weekly column in The Advocate, Daily Nation, and the Barbados Today online newspaper. He has also authored many books, including Guidelines to Fire and Emergency Procedures Manual. He is the founder and managing director of Regional Management Services, Inc., which specializes in the delivery of workplace training programs and offers labor relations and employee relations consultancy services. He has completed training for both public and private sector organizations, and as a labor ambassador, conducts workshops outside of Barbados. Brother De Peiza has also worked in various lecture capacities at the University Cave Hill and has also served as a part-time tutor at the open campus of the University of the West Indies. In his career, he has served on several boards and committees and has also given service to various sporting organizations in Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, Brother Dennis De Peiza.
Good afternoon. I've lost 3 of my 10 minutes in the bio. Exciting times. Let me say that I am not as fiery as my dear colleague, Dr. Marshall, but I have been ably led into my presentation by a student. I always say, a little child shall lead me. We are looking at reforms, and she has advised us very ably that we should begin to think about the future. And that is the future of the Barbados Union of Teachers. I specifically like to look at it, as we say, 50 and beyond, that we need to look at the build-out of our legacy and our achievements. And as Gerard, in her spoken word, said to us, can you make things better? And she implored us, it is time to improve. And I would like to start by saying to you that beauty as an organization, and any organization that wishes 50 years, has, yes, we might say, has become a little older, but is not old age. In my view, it is maturity, and the distinction has to be made in that regard. So what should we be doing? Focusing our attention on the building of the foundation that has been laid over the past 50 years, and to see how we can more or less move forward on the gains that have already been made. And as we do so, I always believe that what we need to do is to ensure that we bring to bear quality leadership to the organization. And that does not come overnight. It comes through the means of investment. Reform is part of an investment program. And as much as we invest in education, we also have to be mindful of investing in our human resource. And if we are going to build out a better labor movement, a better Barbados, a better educational system, people will remain at the center of that development. And we have to invest in them. So I believe that it's time for us to do some serious reflection and to look at the journey which we have come along, but most importantly, as we reflect, we always say looking back. What does looking back help us to do? It informs us as to how we should go forward, but we should also be mindful of the challenges of that we will be facing as we go forward. Because sometimes we like to sit down and think and wait for things to happen. It speaks to us being proactive in our leadership and the management. And in organizations that are developing and growing on a daily basis, we have to be one step ahead of the clock. Always be mindful of what are the possibilities that can, and the opportunities, those things that can impact on how we grow and develop. And if we are so minded, I think that we are in a better position to do and achieve better outcomes. Now, I really like to believe that as we look at this in its fullest perspective, we have to re-examine the way we do business. We cannot do things the same way that we did them 50 years ago. We are in an age of technological reform. I don't know what will happen when we get to 100, what type of age we'll be in, but certainly we always have to be mindful that the world is changing, and we have to be prepared to change with it. And if we are to make the strides that we want to make, we have to ask ourselves, how are we going to do this? Here is my suggestion at this point. We have to start with a renewed vision. What do we want to see BUT as an organization in another 50 years? What are the strategies, what are the pathways we want to take? I always like to suggest to ourselves that if we want to be prepared to be successful, we must be prepared to put in the hard work. BUT was built on hard work. Organizations generally are built on hard work. But then we cannot drop the baton. And I'm saying that to ensure that we are going down the right path. Over the life of this organization, it has generally been based on voluntary commitment of its members. People volunteer. And as a result, they have to juggle their various responsibilities and roles. We heard earlier teachers are full-time in their jobs, and yet they have to commit to defending the rights of their colleagues and moving into development and training programs. They're doing all types of different things. And it obviously takes a toll on persons as we go along. But as organizations grow, we have to look at the capacity and how we can be able to respond to the needs of our membership and the build-up of the organizations. So this leads us to the point that we start to have to professionalize the organizations. It's about time that we have a full-time paid general secretary. We can't expect the persons to be in the system, doing an 8-hour job, but yet have to carry the mammoth responsibility of managing an organization and ensuring that all those things that the Constitution requires of that person to do on a daily basis are done efficiently and effectively. We have to get an industrial relations officer, somebody who specializes in a field, who can go there and do the work, do what is required to help ensure that your interest is properly and ably represented. We must have a research and development officer. And part of what we've been struggling with all along is to be able to keep up with the demands of the Ministry of Education and other institutions or agencies of government who require information. And we are in an age of everything being data-driven. So how are we going to get the data if we don't have the persons to help us to pull this together? And I dare say we need to have a professional accountant. We have to move to that. An organization of 2,500 members thereabout and looking to build out can't continue with a voluntary service in this regard. So professional services must come on stream. I would like to think that as we look around at the organization, as I said, volunteerism has always been what we have depended on. People indicating interest, I want to run, and you obviously move on the popularity contest mode, or friendship modes, or the group dynamics, and come. You can be an executive member, you can be president, you can be this, you can be that. But you come totally unprepared for the task and the job you have to do. You don't have the skill sets, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the expertise, and we fail to properly represent our members because of our shortfalls. I am there suggesting that going forward we have to look at changing this. I strongly would recommend that we start to demand that persons who are vying for the top positions in our organizations, unions across the world, not even Barbados alone, should be people who have training in the role of president and general secretary. Those two key positions at least should be persons who have the competencies and are qualified to lead organizations of this nature. The days of jump out the road and jump on the bandwagon, I think, are long gone. And I would like to suggest that that approach to management filters down, where we try to embrace some level of training, but I'll get to that in a minute. I would like, however, to see BUT also remove itself from a 1-year election cycle to a 2-year or 3-year, so that those persons who come on board they have programs of action, can actually deliver on them. Because don't even call it a year. I call it 10 months, virtually. Because after that, you're left and your programs are totally incomplete. So the idea of voluntary service, I think that is necessary for us to address sooner rather than later. Now, I also would like to think that we should address the membership issue. I know that it's in the pipeline, but I cannot, in the life of me, see how our union in this age could only focus on the teachers in the system. If you have other occupations in the plant, those persons in the system should be embraced under this umbrella. Obviously, our membership will be expanded. We clearly would have to have divisions in the organization, but that's healthy. It makes us stronger and solidifies the role of BUT as a vibrant trade union representing a sector. And I'm talking about the persons in education wherever they are. I also would like to suggest that we build that capacity now by having membership and telling what I was saying before, by establishing a training academy. We have the opportunity to be in the forefront of ensuring that capacity is built out. Because we can bring counselors to have sessions for teachers. There's so many facets of education that we can continue upskilling, uptooling our membership. And we can ensure that we are always on the cutting edge as an organization. And I believe that investment needs to happen sooner rather than later. BUT many years ago started on a library. That, of course, it never really got off the ground. But a training academy could then cater to the wider needs of persons in the system, and I would hope that's something that will come very shortly. With respect to the conditions of service, I believe that we start to address, from a professional point of view, how teachers are seen as proof of professionals. This idea of the long hours of work that we have and the pay that we receive, and the issue of retirement age. The issue of the retirement age are things that we might have to address, because teachers working till 3 1/3, I think that's unthinkable in this day and age. I think that we need to start to ask ourselves a serious question: is this fair to the health? Because we talk about health and safety, and we got to think about people and their abilities to be able to perform at the maximum after a certain time, and we need to address these. And finally, I would want to suggest and to repeat what I had said at the opening ceremony. BUT started as an independent body. And I would like to proffer that BUT should remain and live and grow, develop as an independent body. There should be no place for partisan politics within BUT. This might not be sweet for some ears, but I am saying, if we want to destroy what we build, just put the wrong elements in the middle, and we'll get the result that we may not be catering for. I hope these two thoughts on the build-out of BUT and its legacy will inform how we go forward in the next 50 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother De Peiza. A real moment of reflection on the union's humble beginnings and really critical pearls of wisdom that you would have shared as we try to move our union forward. Sister Sanjina Curtin joins us now, and she will offer a special bit of entertainment. Let's welcome her as she comes.
teachers. Minutes after they took high from the Russell's feet, when my head was made strong by the hand of the Almighty, we forward in this generation triumphantly. So won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever heard, redemption song, redemption song. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop all the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the goal. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever heard, redemption song, redemption song, redemption song. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop all the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption songs. All I ever had, redemption songs. These songs of freedom, songs of freedom.
This is turning into a space where we have many, many talented members of the audience, so really beautifully teacher talent, student talent, chairperson talent. I can try. We continue to draw inspiration from the past as we look toward our future, and Sister Marcia Burt, she joins us as she introduces our third speaker, who of course will present just for 10 minutes, and we move on swiftly through our program. Sister?
Good evening. Vern Charles is from the beautiful island of St. Lucia. She is an educator with 28 years experience and has been the principal of a primary school in the southwestern part of St. Lucia for the past 8 years. In 2011, she was appointed as the chairperson of the first ever elected Women's Committee of the St. Lucia Teachers Union. She served as chairperson of that committee for 5 terms and moved on to serve on the CUT, that's the Caribbean Union of Teachers, Status of Women's Committee for 3 consecutive terms. She now serves as the President of the St. Lucia Teachers Union and the General Secretary of the CUT. She is the editor of 2 commemorative magazines of the CUT, the last one highlighting the stalwarts of the CUT Status of Women's Committee and the progress made by women presidents in the unions. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite Comrade Sister Vern Charles.
Good afternoon, can I be heard? Wonderful, can I be heard? Yes, okay, great, I can hear you, yes. Thank you for the introduction, my dear sister, Masha. Greetings to everyone from the Caribbean Union of Teachers. I acknowledge the presence of the President of the Barbados Union of Teachers, Brother Rudy Lovell and his executive, as well as the panelists on Teachers Talk. I would like to thank the Barbados Union of Teachers for the invitation to participate in Teachers Talk. I am indeed honored, and even more so knowing that I am the sole woman, it looks like, among such esteemed men to be presenting a contribution today. I would like to congratulate the Barbados Union of Teachers on the celebration of the 50th anniversary as a trade union movement, and I wish the BUT continued success as they navigate through this ever-evolving world. 50 and beyond looks promising, and it sounds like the BUT has a roadmap and is more than ready to move forward in a very progressive direction. Congratulations. My dear brothers and sisters, my post as General Secretary of the Caribbean Union of Teachers is generally new. But my experience working with the organization and in education has broadened my perspective on many issues. My contribution will remind us of what the BUT and other trade unions stand for and aim for as protectors of teachers' rights. The CUT will be an 89-year-old organization come August this year, and this organization is an umbrella body of teacher trade unions in the Caribbean region. Presently, our membership stands at 25. The ethos of the organization is based on that of unity. The CUT aims to unite teacher trade unions across the region, thus providing the platform for greater cooperation, exchanging of experiences, ideas, information, and of course, best practices of teachers, teacher trade unions. The Barbados Union of Teachers is an active part of the CUT, and I wish to applaud them for their contribution to the Caribbean Union of Teachers over the past years. Trade unions continue to promote the interest and dignity of the teaching profession. The CUT is a grouping of formidable teachers' voice in the region, and there is constant engagement with the regional organizations on matters affecting workers and education, as well as discussions to implement programs to benefit our unions. As a grouping, we discuss the many challenges experienced by the unions and teachers and try to identify ways to address those issues. All in all, we recognize that teacher unions and governments generally have the same goal, which is working towards providing quality education for all. We want to leave no one behind. And in that respect, I will speak to 3 aspects of quality education, which stand out for educators and for the CUT from a trade union perspective, and I know they do for the BUT as well. So generally, we know that there is a student-centered approach to education, meaning that everything eventually must redound to the benefit of the child to help him or her receive what is needed, the skills, the knowledge, etc., to function effectively in society. This means that the education which the child receives and everything surrounding it must also center around the word quality. Therefore, we need quality teachers. I must say, based on observations, that teacher training and professional development courses seem to be readily available to our educators. There is access to many online courses. Our teacher training colleges are quite visible. Workshops are being conducted. And in the case of the CUT, we source opportunities for those programs to reach our members, be it teacher training or teacher trade union training, through our cooperating partners such as CTF, the INEA, the OACS, etc. And this is promising, as training and professional development is key and must be a priority, especially for teacher trade unions. The quality and relevance to present-day society of those training programs is also very important. We want training programs, but we want quality programs, and we want programs that are relevant to what is happening in our present society. So let's look at the fact that in our education system, we have a mix of 4 generations interacting practically on a daily basis. So we have Generation X, which is born in 1965 to 1980, and I can't believe that I'm a part of that. I am very proud to be a part of that, actually. We have millennials and millennials up to 1996. We have Generation Z up to 2012 and Gen Alpha, which is 2025, well, up to 2013 to 2025. So we therefore have Generation X teachers teaching Gen Alpha. The needs of our Gen Alpha children are highly technological, whereas we have Generation X teachers, most of whom are still quite uncomfortable using basic technology. So we ask, how can they cope with such things as artificial intelligence? And the needs and the learning styles of our students are changing. And as educators, we need to learn the characteristics of a new generation. As teachers, we need to retool ourselves and learn, relearn, and ensure that we prepare ourselves for what is to lie ahead. So that is why I speak to the relevance of the training. Quality education also means improved conditions of work, and beauty knows this very well. And there is a cry of many teachers across the region to basically hear what they have to say and improve the conditions of work. The expectation is that every teacher must work a miracle, and in many cases have to make sacrifices in the process. Whereas all the training programs are available and teachers and students have to work in environments that basically are not student-friendly, and environments that are not teacher-friendly, and in some cases are not deemed fit for work. Yet, amidst those challenges, our teachers go above and beyond to provide excellence or produce excellent results. To add to this is the compounding issues related to climate change, which we are feeling the effects of, and unfortunately have little control over. We experience high levels of anxiety, Can I be heard? Sorry, someone muted me. Hello?
We're hearing you, but we're hearing you.
Okay. We have high levels of anxiety, which exists whenever the hurricane season approaches. And we all know of the many disruptions to school based on the effects of storms or hurricanes in the various islands. Another important condition of work is that of remuneration, but this one I can leave to Brother Lyte, who continues the fight for justice for his teachers in Guyana. Added to that are terms of employment, which always leaves room for improvements. What are the fringe benefits, allowances, and other means of support provided to teachers for the work that they do? Teachers deserve the best, who are extremely valuable to society. And thirdly, quality education also means recognizing the trajectory of our society in terms of work and what is needed, and providing access to students and teachers to develop the skills necessary to do so. So looking at STEAM, technical vocational programs, entrepreneurial programs, and many more are needed to equip everyone, not only the students in the classroom, but teachers, everyone in society, with the skills needed to survive and function in this world. So these programs should be offered and must be reflected in the needs of our society. So these are just 3 points which I wanted to highlight as I make my contribution in the education teacher trade union realm. I believe that they must be taken into consideration when we look at wanting to achieve quality education. I for one follow the BUT, and I have seen its work. I can see its work in all the areas that I have highlighted above. And I would like to commend the organization, commend this union for continuing to have the backs of its teachers. I'd like to thank you.
And we extend sincere gratitude to you, Sister Vern. You've caused us to think a lot more on innovation, and your advice really points us towards that sustainable development goal 4 as we try to forge forward in the best interest of our learners. At this time, we're going to hear an expression that will cause us to think deeply and carefully about the amount of courage and bravery that we sometimes need to have if we want to confront problems. And this comes a special treat from a duet from the Spring Memorial School. Please welcome them as they come. Y'all need backup singers or dancers or anything? Okay, all right.
Hello? table and never drew the games. We played it always win, always win. Well, I set fire to the rain. Watch you pose, I'll touch your face. When it burned, I cried 'cause I heard it screaming at your name. In the rain, I set fire to the rain, and I threw us into the flames. When you felt something dark, 'cause I knew that was the last time, the last time. Sometimes I wake up by the door, and had you come as me waiting for you. Even now you're already over, can't help myself from looking for you. I set fire to the rain, and I cross into the flames. When we felt something dark, 'cause I heard it screaming out your name. Your name, I set fire to the rain, and I cross into the flames. When we felt something dark, 'cause I heard it screaming out your name. Your name,
Thank you, beautiful young ladies. Success to you in all you do. Well done, well done, well done. A real reflection, deep reflection on courage and bravery. Many of the experiences, in our classrooms require us as practitioners to keep going in the best interest of our students. So we are grateful for that reminder. Caribbean Teachers Talk continues with another speaker, and we invite Sister Julicia Hines to make that introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Victor St. Clair Hutchinson holds a Master of Arts degree in Education with a major in Educational Administration, a Bachelor of Arts degree in French, Spanish, and Linguistics, and a Diploma in Education, all from the Cayfield campus of the UWI. His work experience included being a teacher of Spanish, head of the Foreign Languages Department, and deputy principal at the Parkinson Memorial Secondary School before becoming principal of the Dighton Griffith Secondary School in 2002. He has had a long involvement in local trade union movement and the credit union movement, having occupied the following positions in the Barbados Union of Teachers: President, Vice President, Secretary of the Shop Stewards Council. Mr. Hutchinson also served as Second Vice President to the Caribbean Union of Teachers, President of the Barbados Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools, President of the Caribbean Association of Principals and Secondary Schools, President of the Barbados Teachers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, and Chairman of the Supervisory Committee of the same. In 2017, Mr. Hutchinson was awarded the Barbados Silver Star for his contribution to education, trade unionism, and credit unionism. He was also awarded by the National Council of Parent Teachers Association for service to Parent Teachers Associations and by the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools for contribution to education in the Caribbean. Since his retirement, Mr. Hutchinson has maintained a keen interest in teacher organizational activities. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Victor Hutchinson.
Good evening. Thank you very much for that welcome. Mr. President of BUT, let me first of all extend congratulations to you on the achievement of the 50th anniversary of the Barbados Union of Teachers as an independent trade union. And these congratulations are extended also to the members of the Executive Committee, the Shop Stewards Council, the staff of the union, and indeed to all members of the union, of which I myself have been a proud member throughout the complete 50 years of its independence as an independent. The age of an individual is not usually perceived in the same manner as the age of an institution or an organization. In fact, some very unflattering things are said about people as we age. For example, the age of 50 has been described as the point when you and your hair reach agreement that separation might be best for the relationship. And I suppose I am walking evidence of that truth. Fortunately, however, an organization like a union, 50 years of existence is viewed in a rather more positive light as testament of stability, endurance, maturity, and continuity. Now, in the next few minutes, having been perceived as perhaps the most chronologically qualified person to do this, I would like to take a quick walk with you down memory lane and to reflect briefly on some of the realities that confronted this organization in 1974 when it took the bold step into independence. In short, what I want to do is to give you a glimpse of the flavor of the times, particularly of union life in those early days. And I hope that you, like me, appreciate the value of institutional history as a window to the soul of an organization, which, if suitably utilized, can help to point the way forward for contemporary leadership. Now, the origins of this union are located in the formation of the Barbados Elementary School Teachers Association, which was established in 1895. In those early days, the leaders were primarily head teachers. But in the 1950s, the government of Barbados established what were called comprehensive schools, later known as near-secondary schools. And the system of education was unified at the secondary level in 1981 with the passage of the Education Act. Now, it so happened that the teachers of these comprehensive schools chose to join BESTA, leading logically to a name change to the Barbados Union of Teachers. And the BUT functioned as an arm of the Civil Service Association, which was later known as the National Union of Public Workers. Now, in those days, there was an agreement between these two entities in which BUT retained about 30% of the teachers' monthly subscriptions to the CSA. However, with the gradual decline in the separate professional and organizational identity of the BUT, the leadership of the teachers' body launched a massive campaign for independence, which culminated in a positive vote in a referendum on May 27, 1974, in which 1,819 members voted yes and a mere 64 voted no to independence. A new constitution was ratified on 29th of June 1974 at a special general meeting that was convened for that purpose, and the union on August the 2nd of that same year was registered as an independent trade union recognized by the government as the bargaining agent for teachers in the public service. Now, friends and colleagues, I do not usually single out individuals for special mention when talking about an entity in which collective action should be paramount. However, no rational discourse about the Barbados Union of Teachers can fail to acknowledge the superior contribution of Mr. John Cumberbatch, whose leadership as the first president of the independent BUT was superlative. He was brilliant, passionate, dynamic, charismatic, and incredibly articulate. And his work for the union, tireless and visionary and fearless as it was, created the architecture for the development and progress of the BUT. I had the pleasure of working with him as a teacher at the Parkinson School, and it was his example and encouragement that inspired me to join the executive committee in the early 1980s. And it so happened that a number of teachers from the Parkinson School served in one capacity or the other on the executive of the Barbados Union of Teachers. None other than my colleague Dennis De Peiza, who was General Secretary and President, Noel Manning, Cecil Payne, and others are among the people who were inspired by John Cumberbatch. Incidentally, something that is not often repeated, but John Cumberbatch helped to mobilize teacher support for the development of the Barbados Teachers Cooperative Credit Union Limited under the leadership of the famous John Lovell. But the BUT as a teachers union contributed immensely to the growth and development of the Teachers Credit Union as well. Now, let me get to the flavor of the times. I can tell you that in those early days, union meetings were characterized by fierce but highly intellectual debate and discussion. People like Stanley Mears, Sherwin Walters, Ivan Bostic, Carlyle Maskell, Betty White, Yvette Simmons Jemmett, William Skinner, John Goddard, Vernon Worrell, David Clement, and others too numerous to mention, brought logic, humor, and passion to those discussions. And as fierce as the exchanges were at times, at the end of the meeting, there was a noticeable absence of rancor. Instead, there was a determination to move forward, united and solidly together in pursuit of whatever objective and strategy had been agreed. Somebody is suggesting that there was a liquid contribution to that as well. It is possible. Let me give you a few examples of the issues that confronted the BUT in those early years and over time. First of all, 50 years ago, there was a huge level of disparity among and between the schools of Barbados, especially at the secondary level. In addition, the teachers' conditions of service also reflected significant disparities and anomalies, of which I will give you just a couple examples, Bajan couple, of course. At the secondary level, there were stark inequalities between those comprehensive schools I mentioned before and the existing grammar schools as the older, more prestigious secondary schools were called. To illustrate, the differences included such matters as class size, size of the student roll, infrastructural provisions, resources, and so on. To give one example, when I attended school as a student of the Harrison College School, the school roll was 733. When I went to teach at the Parkinson School during the 70s and the 80s, the student roll at Parkinson School exceeded 1,500 people. And at Ellerslie Secondary School, it actually surpassed 1,700. Now, I admit that over time and over significant effort from this union, those realities have changed. And the Parkinson School roll today is about 835, while that of Harrison College is about 1,050. Of course, you know, there's a great demand to get into Harrison College, which may not be reflected similarly in the case of the other institution that I named. Now, I do not know if the younger members of this audience might be familiar of the concept of a floating form. I will tell you what it is. It referred to a class which had no classroom base for registration of pupils, nor for the instructional process. Instead, teachers and students had to search the school compound for a spot on the school pasture, on the stairwell, under a tree, or in any available corner of the school to conduct the activities associated with teaching and learning. And you can well imagine the fate of those students and teachers during the rainy season. Also, when student teams came to these comprehensive schools, some of them to participate in inter-school activity, football, cricket, and so on, there were no change in facilities. So they would use the teacher's staff room to change into their PE gear. When the reverse took place and students, let's say from Parkinson, went out to some of these older secondary schools, when they came back, they said, oh man, these schools were like hotels. When they contrasted the physical provision that was the reality of the older secondary school compared to the reality of their own school. In those days, two colleagues, the principals of older secondary schools were paid more than their counterparts in the newer secondary schools, even though the school rolls were significantly smaller. And part of the justification was the argument that there were sixth form schools. At the primary level, there were 3 grades of primary school principal, with size being a factor. And these grades attracted different salaries. And if you were a principal in one of the grade 3 schools, and you had on your staff a teacher who had a university degree, the difference between your salary and the salary of that teacher would be negligible and may not always be in the favor of the principal. In addition, at the primary school level, teachers did not enjoy non-teaching periods, did not enjoy them. Let's look at professional training and how it was valued. In those days, salaries were depressed for everybody really in the teaching service. However, if you had a scenario in which 2 identical twins with identical academic qualifications joined the teaching service, and one of them chose to pursue teacher training at the Radisson Teachers Training College, while his brother opted for a degree program at the University of the West Indies. When these 2 persons graduated, the salary of the university graduate virtually doubled, while the Radisson graduate got an increase of approximately $25. It was the equivalent of an increment. And that is one of the issues that the union fought in a project which became known as the overlap, in which the union argued that the system was not placing value on professional training. And if you want to say that teaching is a profession, and a noble one at that, and you want to encourage people to get training, how could you so despise the acquisition of that qualification that you do not reward it better? So the union agitated for change in all of those areas. And the one that surrounded the difference between university degree pay and Radisson training pay became known as the overlap, because the union argued that the trained teacher scale should proceed way beyond its then maximum and deep into the scale that applied to the university graduate. So I could go on and on for the whole afternoon talking about the issues that the union had to fight: security of tenure, improved physical conditions, improved salaries and allowances, better provision for teacher training, especially teachers in the primary school who were not at the time given access to the diploma in education at university and at Radisson. Teachers and students exposed to health hazards. And I must tell you that there was a case at the now closed Roebuck Secondary School, and that case was brought to mind recently when this union was fighting the cause of the teachers at the Lawrence T. Gay Primary School and the Lester Vaughan Secondary School. And I would advise you to take a little historical look at the Roebuck situation and see if you don't see the parallel, and see if you don't see the importance of unions not apologizing to anybody for representing the interests of teachers and by extension their students. But that is the very reason that a union exists. And therefore, unions should not recoil in the face of negative comment from misguided members of the public. Now, in the discussion in this room over the last couple of days, some of the teachers spoke about activities in which the union could participate in order to build what they call the solidarity of teachers. And they said, look, because you're a union, it doesn't follow that every activity that you organize must be of an industrial relations flavor. Though you can do social activities, cultural activities, and so on, to help to build that camaraderie. Now, let me give you a few examples of things that we used to do when I had here. First of all, did you know that the BUT once had a choir? And as incredible as this might sound, Dennis was a member of that choir. It also had a drama group, a cultural committee that staged plays, concerts, and yes, calypso competitions. Yes, a karate club. And even more incredible, I was the first president of the BUT Karate Club. Ronald Jones. We had a ballroom dance club. We had teams in sports like hockey, table tennis, cricket, dominoes, volleyball. And colleagues, did you know that we also used to sponsor an all-year nights party in the union at the headquarters? Where teachers could come and have a good time, essentially for free. right? Yes. In short, colleagues, there was a rich variety of activities designed to cater to the interests of the different personalities that made up the membership of a mass-based organization like the BUT. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that you should or could resurrect all of these clubs and organizations today. Rather, what I want to suggest is that you might reflect upon what it is that might appeal to today's teacher and could therefore potentially help the union to build and maintain the cohesiveness, the unity, and the camaraderie which would enhance the solidarity about which the teachers spoke yesterday. Now, I want then, as I come towards my conclusion, to say that this union became independent in the face of a reality of inequality, disparity, injustice, snobbery, and our society is still a fairly snobbish society. You just have to look at how people perceive different groups in the society and different schools. Disrespect for the professional status of the teacher, woefully inadequate physical facilities in schools. And it is this union that launched a relentless fight to improve the lot of the teacher and the student and to achieve an element of social justice for the workers and students of the Barbadian public school system. The world in which you modern teachers function is fraught with its own challenges, some of which are quite pervasive as a consequence of changed societal values. To give an example, attitudes to discipline and respect are so different, and the alleged enlightened modernity that is often cited as a justification for certain amendments of the laws and regulations themselves contribute to these negative changes that become part of the reality of the modern day teacher. As the BUT therefore faces the next 50 years as the representative body for Barbadian teachers, the leadership and the membership of the union must keep uppermost in their minds and in their plans the original and the eternally valid reason for the union's existence. And that is outlined in the objects of the union's constitution. And the causes that inform those objects include social justice through education, high professional standards among teachers, assisting teachers in the articulation of broad social and human purposes, defense of the teachers' exercise of their rights as citizens, promotion of the material interests of teachers, and securement for teachers of the opportunity to participate actively at all levels in the formulation of educational policies. In short, colleagues, the role of the BUT and all teacher unions as the defender of the material, social, psychological, physical, and educational well-being of teachers must forever remain the supreme focus of its efforts. In pursuit of this objective, it behooves the leaders and members of the union to conduct their activities in a spirit of collegiality, collectivism, collaboration, and solidarity, embracing the reality expressed in the proverb, which I'm going to quote in a minute, which is believed to be of African origin, and it goes like this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Hutchinson, we honor your contributions.
You continue to be viewed as one of the pillars of success in our education system here in Barbados. So thank you for sharing. And I actually have this one here from 1992, and there is a picture of some of the names of persons you called in their Kung Fu position. So it'd be great if you want to take a peek. We'll see some really interesting pictures. You know, Brother De Peiza is in there with his fro and everything. Akedria Brathwaite joins us at this time to make her special presentation. And I believe Akedria also attends Christ Church Foundation School. Yeah, so she's a proud representative. You can see there's some CCFS posse here.
Oh,
Really well done. Thank you so much for sharing your talent with us. And as a union, our vision is not, only on the educational system, as it were, but we wish to give our students, our learners, an opportunity, a platform to share their creative expressions through dance, through music, and we're really grateful that so many of them were able to join us this evening. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, what's also unique about today's program is the regional focus. Of course, we've heard from our comrade in St. Lucia, and Sister Alicia Allen joins us, and she will introduce our final presenter, who will be joining us via Zoom.
Dr. Lyte. Brother Dr. Lyte is a pastor within the Church of Christ for over 30 years. He's been married for 30 years and has 2 grown sons. Brother Dr. Lyte is a teacher with over 30 years experience and a principal with 10 years experience. He credits his mother for being instrumental in shaping who he is today. He presently serves as the president of the Guyana Teachers Union with 10 years experience. Brother Dr. Lyte believes that education is a pillar on which a nation stands, and has sought as president of the Guyana Teachers Union to ensure that he's involved in the lives of children and more so fights for the rights of his teachers. Over the years, he's been fighting for better working conditions and better pay for teachers. He's very passionate about the welfare of teachers as he wants Guyana where teachers are treated well. Brother Dr. Lyte has also tutored at the University of Guyana for a period of time, and his skills are also imparted to teachers at the Cyril Potter College of Education. His qualifications include a doctorate in transformational leadership, master's in curriculum and instruction, bachelor's degree in social studies, associate degree in theology, certificate in education management, and he's a trained Class 1, Grade 1 teacher. At this time, I invite you to listen to the presentation by Brother Dr. Lyte.
Thank you, Dr. Allen, and the sessional chair. I want to extend heartiest congratulations to Brother Rudy Lovell. I have also seen several past presidents in the room of my different here. And the executive of the DUT also recognize the members of the head table, and I want to congratulate DUT on its 50th anniversary. Trade unionism and the work of trade unionists are not going and fast, and we have committed ourselves throughout the Caribbean and around the world to represent the members of the teaching profession. My presentation, I have to be a bit short because I explained to Dr. Allen in 2 sessions at the same time. And I just want to, stick to the point that I wanted to make here this evening. To recognize that we in the trade union movement must safeguard the teaching profession and the conditions for work. And so I would like to speak to you briefly on the safeguarding the teaching profession and the conditions for work. And this is very difficult and the challenging work that we are called to do. The question is, can the teaching profession be safeguarded? And what is needed to safeguard the teaching profession? And I join with my colleagues who presented earlier, and I'm sure from time to time, the DUT would have highlighted similar sentiments as it relates to trade unionism and how we can better safeguard our educators in the profession. I do not like to refer to teachers as being part of a job. And I would correct most of the citizens of this country and elsewhere that being an educator is part of a profession. And one of the ways in which we can safeguard the teaching profession is through the implementation of the international legal framework on the right to education and the teaching profession. And we can go back to 1960 in the UNESCO Convention Against Discrimination in Education as the first legal binding instrument covering extensively the right to education. And we have this enshrined in our constitutions, I know all across the Caribbean, that education is a right given to the citizenry of our country. And we are tasked with ensuring that the learners are given an opportunity to be educated without any form of discrimination. So we as a union must not only fight for the rights of teachers, but to ensure that that democratic right, according to the UNESCO's convention, is implemented in a very rigid way within our sphere. Also, the ILO's UNESCO recommendation concerning the status of teachers, and that was established in 1960. And that recommendation also speaks to the rights of teachers in the education sector. And I'm sure over the 50 years, the BUT would have had to engage, and we say here in Guyana, I don't want to use the word loosely, the powers that be, the government of the day, to ensure that teachers' rights are always respected. And that my sister highlighted that here in Guyana, we are also making that stand, and we continue to do so. The second thing I want to mention, apart from the implementation of that international legal framework on the rights of education and the teaching profession, is to also highlight that through the use of strict monitoring systems, we can oversee the implementation of international standards on the teaching profession. And therefore, there is an urge for us to have those rigid bodies within our location to establish what we call a task force within our region, within our country, to resolve and to monitor what is happening in the education sector. A third point I want to make is pertaining to the recruitment and retention of teachers. If we are to safeguard our professionals in the education sector and the conditions under which they work, we have to ensure that there is a proper recruitment and retention system in place for our teachers. And that may be required where we have looking at measures to train and upskill teachers in specific subject areas. What are those subject areas within Barbados that one will have to search and ensure that there is an active recruitment system? Here in Guyana, we have skill training in the area of pivot training programs to ensure that we have those skilled workers, because there was a time when the emphasis was just on mathematics and science, and so we've seen the need now for persons in the technical field to ensure that our young students are exposed to the right kind of education in this time of our dispensation. And so we can consider looking at broader, and this is something that the union can advocate for, having a national teacher vacancy website, and not only at the time of national vacancy, but there's always an ongoing uploading of vacancies that exist within your country. A fourth point I want to make is for us to understand the role of technology, and I think some of the speakers prior to me spoke about it. Technology and the digital transformation that is needed locally. And so the discussion must not be around technology replacing educators, but how can we see technology being introduced in the education sector look at it in a very creative way to complement the delivery of education to meet the present generation. And so there is need for reskilling teachers to meet the digitalized needs of the education sector. And this may require the union, the BUT, to actively engage in training sessions to equip the educators who are not exposed to this in their training years so that they can come up to speed, as we say here, with the digital age, appreciate how technology and the transformation of technology to the education sector can lead to a better education system. And a fifth point I want to make is for us to understand the role, and I will elaborate a little bit on this because the role of the trade union and other professional organizations in the process regarding the teaching profession. What is the role of the trade union? And we seem to, be up against an even more challenging situation. So we have to look at how do we treat with teacher burnout. Our teachers are being burnt out because of the hours they work, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Teachers taking in work, the grade assignments. How do we treat with teachers being burnt out? Is there a discussion that is needed on the blended modality or the blended approach to help fill that gap? Should there be online and face-to-face engagement to bridge that gap so that our teachers can be able to rise against being burnt out? Another thing that the trade union movement and the BUT has to be cognizant of is teacher compensation, which is a global problem. Our teachers, are the teachers properly compensated? I noticed a trade union within the Caribbean and the CUT recently inked an agreement. The last agreement was inked in 2008, and we hear a lot of our stories around the CUT table. The last time many teachers within the various territories would have had an increase. And so we have to work very hard to ensure that there is proper compensation for the teachers that are servicing our classes and the nation sector. And that would mean that we're addressing a retention problem, because if teachers are paid properly and they're given proper remuneration, then there is an easy way of us retaining our best educators for the nation. I would also want to say that the conditions of work, we have to pay attention to that. What are those minimum standards that we would accept for our schools? We've learned around the CUT table that a lot of our schools are affected by moles and other things, that affect the conditions of work. Teachers are becoming sick because of the disinfestation of the various classrooms and other challenges. I don't know if we is affected by this, but we have to address the current working conditions and the kind of service. We've seen in the Caribbean some countries fighting for gratuity and pension for the educators. So these are things that we have to look at in order to retain our educators, the best minds in our country. The union, the BUT, is also focused on continuous professional development sessions to address the provision of resources, things like class size and mentoring and coaching. Are these still a part of our push to ensure that our union members are really given an opportunity to function in the best environment? What are we doing? What are we doing in terms of the regulations? Are there regulations that are in need of being reviewed, like the Education Act in some countries that needs to be constantly reviewed? The BUT has to, in its push to go forward, address these challenges that are there as a threat to the education sector and our educators in general. So in a nutshell, we have to look at our role, and I want to emphasize the role of the sure you have seen much. But are there newer challenges that you have to face? Are there challenges that you never faced in the past that are now picking up? The challenge of technology, the challenge of class size, the challenge of continuous professional development session, the challenge of conditions of work and remuneration. These are all important to our push to be better at representing our members. And on the 50th anniversary, I would like to encourage BUT to work towards safeguarding the teaching profession and the working conditions of our members by ensuring that adequate representation is made for every member of our union, every member of the profession, and also to constantly make representation at the level of government for the benefit of our members. And one of the things that we can do best is to argue and put forward new proposals so that our members can be better remunerated and the compensation package will allow for a greater level of retention. Again, I want to extend a hearty congratulations to the BUT, and I know that having lived through 50 years, that you are well placed for another 50. I want to say to the rank and file members that you must support the executive so that the profession can be adequately safeguarded to ensure that the younger generation would want to come on board to support and be part of the education sector. I wish you well, and may God bless you, and take care, everybody.
We trust your wisdom, and we certainly will seek as best we can to action the suggestions that you have made. Of course, teacher compensation stands out. We wouldn't mind if that takes priority. Before we proceed, though, we wish to recognize the contribution of Dr. Marshall. He has offered an apology for his early exit, but we were truly moved by his remarks. We have a special treat for you now in the person of Brother Mr. Cooper Dan, who will grace the semi-stage now with a treat to help us perhaps look closely at our reflection, maybe. So we await his arrival in 2 minutes. I can try to sing it for you until he... Some really interesting presentations, though, this evening. I'm sure that you would have been moved. A lot of the themes are really overlapping. The call for solidarity, the call for improved conditions for our teachers. Of course, the last presentation would have been causing us to think more about how we can attract some younger teachers into the fold to see how we can get them going. It was really interesting to hear about the pay differences. I know my mom speaks of being paid, I think she said $120 when she started off in the 70s. Pardon? And you could have saved. I heard somebody saying, yeah, there was enough to save. So here he is, ladies and gentlemen. I was warming him up for you. Open air, thank you.
Using this mic? All two working? Yeah. I using both first verse and second verse. Yeah. I want to stand on the podium like a big shot, you know? Good evening, everybody. I can just start. Whenever the music start, we can start. So I want a little photo. I want a little important. Me like important. So on today's thing, cue, music, thing. Let's get it.
know this one, help me sing it, yeah?
Yo, yo.
See this one, pretty man in the girl in the yes, you in the when I look in the mirror, I don't see a perfect man, no. I don't see a and I don't see a honest man. Now take a look in the mirror. Be proud of your reflection. Everybody has their story. That's why you shouldn't judge no one. Look, people are easy, they change like the weather, and I can't trust another man. And the music has stressed, I sing it all kind of song, and still it's the one I think I know, but I know who God bless. Sometimes I get the best man, there's got to get the worst. I am so blessed and I know my way. And every time that you face I know I will say that I know who I am when I look in the mirror. And that is me in the mirror. Yes, I know who I am when I look in the mirror. It is me I see in the mirror. Right inside the mirror, and that is me in the mirror. Inside the mirror, I see a reflection of me. The landlord is there. Every time you blink is one time. I can't keep a blinking same. But the children in hungry. Jason Jeremiah said yes, and I can say that with my chest, cause I know who God bless. Sing. Sometimes I get the best man, there's got to get the worst. I am so blessed and I know my way. I want to hear every tears and hear sing the verse yourself. Ready that I know who I am when I look in the mirror. And that is me in the mirror. Yes, I know who I am when I look in the mirror. It is me I see in the mirror. Inside the mirror, well, that is me in the mirror. Inside the mirror, I see a reflection of me. Inside the mirror, when I look in the mirror, I see a reflection of me. What any poor people in one of their inside, they look in the mirror, they come in and say, what I think? Huh? You know what we're seeing, you know? Who God bless. But sometimes I get the best man, there's got to get the worst. I am whoever can't turn on the music, when I count to three, I want to turn it down. 1, 2, 3, that I
platform, as it were.
And there you will meet with Sister Tara Durant. Of all people. Sister Springer, my apologies.
Where there is no vision, the people perish. They can't focus. They can't reach their goal. They can't follow their dream. On behalf of the President, Executive, and members of the Professional Development and Gender Committee, we offer you this token of our appreciation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sister Dr. Alicia Allen. Brother Hutchinson, can we invite you down at this time?
You gave us a reflection of where we started from and where we are today and where we're to go. And I want to say on behalf of the Professional Development and Gender Committee, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to speak to us today. We're thankful for your wisdom, your knowledge, and for always being there that we can call upon you at anything. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Sister Sharice Rock joins us at this time. She will move the vote of thanks. Sister Rock. And she, of course, is the Deputy Chairperson of the Professional Development Committee.
We're going to start with, that was for Victor.
Indeed, the young lady from Jamaica says that gratitude is a must in her song. Pardon? No, I'm not saying that. Alison Marie, for me, it would be a tragedy not to mention the awesomeness of your alacrity. Dr. Allen invoked God's presence, who we need for our every essence. President Rudy, the opening remarks he did give. This Caribbean Teachers taught a day to us, he also did give. What a beautiful rendition from the Spring Memorial Choir. For years to come, we will surely remember. Choir Master Dave Lane, you are to these girls a great gain. Bio readers, you all did well. Tara Jewett, Sonia Joseph, Marshall Burke, Julicia Hines, Dr. Alicia Allen, how swell. Dr. Ian Marshall is quite the guru. Education reform to you, sir, is nothing new. You gave us food for thought to last. The 10 minutes we gave him really made him talk fast. Transparency, accountability, longevity, and transcendency, quality churn, and best practice were his advocacy. Jara Scott showed us why she is the head girl. A brighter future she is seeking for her world. She made the way for Brother De Peiza, who spoke about putting people at the center. He called for He called for renewed voluntary vigor. After 50 years on this, we must endeavor. Song Gina, Miss Curtin can sing. For Redemption Song, she did lustily sing. Sister Vern Charles spoke of the ethos of unity and how the trade union movement can help improve teacher quality. Technology, millennials, and AI, Generation X teachers need not to be left on standby. 50 is stability, Victor Hutchinson did say. As down memory lane, we did sway. The names he called, Cumberbatch, Lovell, Simmons, Jemmett, et al. Beauty, solidarity, and drive over the years wasn't small.
Akedra did Gabby and Foundation proud. The steel pan piece you did was quite profound. Dr. Mark Lyte from the task did not shirk as he spoke on safeguarding the teaching profession and how to improve our conditions of work. The view from the CUT table, he showed how we need to get ahead of problems like class size, retention, and mold. Stefan, Berkeley, Solange, Curtis, Charmaine, and team, you made this production quite the dream. I never knew media production was so much entailed. The teaching profession, I will not trade. The Professional Development Committee, to you, all I extend gratitude. You pulled off this Caribbean teacher talk with exuberance. It did exude. Ladies and gentlemen, if I missed anybody in my vote of thanks, I apologize. Thank you for coming and making this Caribbean Teachers Talk a resounding success.